Welcome everyone to another round of Scrap Mechanic. Today I am going to do some work on my big wood chipper, my tree grinder. This is version 2. Version 1 was stationary, so I couldn't carry it with me to the work site. It was vertical, I used gravity, and it had problems like it couldn't move and the fact that it wasn't big enough to accommodate the biggest trees. Version 2, as I have now, was done for horizontal work, and it does work better. I can move it with me. There's certain accommodations done for the trees themselves, like, you know, you have to break the trees down still to make them fit. And with redwoods, I had to add a secondary saw blade section that pops up and comes in to cut the redwoods because they don't work with sledgehammer. So it's not without problems. It's better than the version 1, but, you know, it's still a lot of extra steps to process trees. So today, I am going to try completely, well, not completely, I'm going to try chopping this thing down in size, keeping basically this area almost identical and building around it. And you see, my wheels are moving for some reason, and they're moving in opposition to each other. That one's moving forward, that one's moving backwards. Same on the other side. So I'm still trying to not change this area too much, but because of placement of the blades, I'm gonna need to move forward. And actually just notice that these are not lined up the same. So I really wish you could move engines and such from one spot to another on the same base, same vehicle, without it changing the, you know, connections. It'd be really nice to do that. So saw blades are working again, even though there's blocks right there, like they should be cutting through. Fortunately, that's kind of a good thing and bad thing that it doesn't affect your own vehicles and such that they're attached to. But at the same time, you know, it's at times could be beneficial because of the way the trees are treated with it. And so now that is where it's dropping in. So we need to enclose all. I'm going to have to move this too. Well, this is one way to transport a redwood back. Not the best way at all. But it is, oh, well, it was working. Timber. So that is the maximum width a tree is going to be. A little bit of, you know, it looks a little bit open on the side, but it really is part of that block. And so this block is actually going to have to come out one more on this side. That's why test it first with the worst possible scenario and make sure it's going to work. And I'm trying to go as minimal on the amount of width I need to give this. So I don't want it bouncing too much as it drops down. Now, the smaller trees will bounce, but I want this to be situated as much as possible along the center of everything. All right, it's ugly, but it's at least in place, and I've split off a little piece here. So I know that should be able to drop in, but what I want to do differently is I want to have it where I can drop it in here. The first design, I had to use a piston elevator to lift myself up, attach it at the top, take the block out. Here, I want to do something where instead I attach it here and it just drops from that point, which is kind of the question of how I want to approach this. I could just do like a set of blocks that come out, attach it there, and then delete the set of blocks every time. Simplest way. Or I could try to get a little fancy with it. So it works, except I'll have to take this piece out, and I'm hoping that does not interfere with it getting chopped up. So yeah, as far as the height above, I only need it to go high enough to keep anything from wobbling around weirdly. And I forgot I got that turned on too. Why is it not chopping? I've seen this happen in the past where it's like, oh yeah, I'm sitting right on top of the saw blades, but they're not affecting me. Does it work with the big one? Yes, and it's actually, you see, glitching into that piece there. So this can actually come in a block from where it is, the way I had it originally where it looked like it would not fit. So yeah, this can actually go back down in size by one block. Yep, still fits. So that takes care of that problem right there. Means I should be able to drop this one in the same. Yep. Of course, it's a little smaller than the biggest part of the trunk, but it won't fit there, so it'll fit there. So I should still be safe with whichever way I try to do this, that will fit. So yeah, that's one way I could do it, is just drop it in that way and have it done every time. But I want to make it as simple as possible and not have to keep placing blocks out. I like to get where I don't have to worry about keeping some blocks in my inventory. So my fancy idea was to place down a platform that it can sit on and, of course, then be removed quickly. But, of course, as I was getting this set up, I realized, oh, yeah, I'm still supposed to have a block to weld the tree to. So that's not going to work without having some block that I attach to. And that just made things more complicated. We'll try it anyway. I just want to show. So basically put it on their platform. Boop. And okay, apparently physics works for part of the game, but not when it comes to a tree trunk falling, because it recognizes the platform's been moved out from under it. All right, got a tree. So I'm coming here. I go do that. Then I can target here. I drop that. That updates with the physics. And wait, no, that one still activates those right now. I'm going to move that. Take that out. And I can see the sparks flying. There it goes. Sometimes, you know, the trees just interact very strangely with the saw blades. So it works for that size, which is only slightly less than the full tree size. So let's just try it with this. And yeah, that's how big it is, which is why before I built to a certain height and it worked, you know, with gravity until, of course, the trees were too tall to actually mount at the top. That's why I'm trying to mount lower down this time. And I think I'll have to build that up a little bit higher. Just because, you see, when it drops like that, it starts to kind of lean a little bit. So I want to keep it enclosed. So I'm thinking one or two more spots. And oh yeah, there it goes. There we go. Now we've got some problems. All because of delay in interaction with those. If it had, you know, interacted at the same pace as normal, that would have been fine. Okay, proof of concept, just to see if this will work. So when there's a tree in here that's tall, and this one's no longer that tall, I'm gonna have to go grab another redwood. Put in, we're gonna take these blocks out. It's still sticking too high. So I have, well, that's a level 3 piston. If this works, let's put it down to 7. So that's how tall a level 1 piston would go. If it ever breaks a piece of the tree off, it will work perfectly, I expect. But that's if it will ever break a piece of the tree. I see sparks happening, but it's just not. I mean, they're right there. They're pretty much dead center. Why is it not interacting with it constantly? This is just having way too many problems now. Trying to get this to actually interact the right way. Like, the blades are right there. There's nothing else for it to land on in this area. The only thing that's open is this side. It should be not having this kind of trouble. Oh, and look, yeah, just, you know, get stuck. How is that stuck? How are the branches acting like that? I mean, you know, this is the same one that got stuck earlier with my little slide out tray. Apparently, this one is just having a logical issue that it doesn't understand physics. So it doesn't need to be this wide. What if I actually bring it in on each side and make it skinnier, so I don't even have to worry about the wobbling effect, because it's so, I mean, or then maybe on the shorter trees it'll wobble a bit. But what if I do a skinnier version and there's no room for the big ones to wiggle. Skinnier. And now it's too skinny. So I took it in just 1 block too many, I think. So it was 6 blocks inside spacing, and it needs at least 5. So good to know. It needs at least 5 blocks of width for the tree to fit in there correctly. Wow! That's working a lot better already. Taking out that wiggle room made it break quickly on that, but still not quite fast enough on the other part. Yeah, I want to get this where I don't have to interact with it at all. I just want to walk away, come back, and the tree's processed. Fresh redwood tree, and it fits in. All right. Drops straight down. Doesn't really have any wiggle room. Return it on. And there we go. Why I had the engine turned up higher before. Because it would not chop with the full weight of it on there. And it's still not breaking it. I mean, I see some sparks, but not much. Why is that? And it's like it's hitting only on the edge. It's not even hitting in the middle. It's like it's sitting on these blades. Why is it just that side that's really triggering the interaction? Oh, a little bit on that side. It's the outsides of the tree that are responding to it. The middle doesn't seem to want to respond at all. So I'm going to try it this way now, staggering them out and see if this makes a difference. We're getting a few sparks in the middle now. And, oh yeah, that one's on the side there. It's not even where it can be interacting with anything. So I need to move that one out towards this spot and get where I have 3 hitting them. But yeah, I don't think I need the extra ones. Okay, now the tree is bugged. I mean, there's no blocks here or anything. And yet it's acting like I cannot pick it up like it's attached to a structure. And now I can't get that there. Okay, nope. Cannot pick up the tree now to weld it. Okay, now brand new tree, and the tree itself won't fit. So this is too skinny completely. So what I had to begin with was better. And there it works. So I had it already spaced the right way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total blocks wide. So 6 blocks interior spacing is what's necessary. And so now I've separated these out differently. They are staggered a bit more. And it's not even interacting with it at all. Like, oh, yeah, that will be why I didn't take all of those out. This is probably not going to work the way I am envisioning, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. So I'm going to try and set up sensors on each of these. So I'm going to use pistons like I tested earlier, but these sensors are going to trigger the pistons automatically. So basically, if a tree is tall enough, it will trigger the sensor to fire off the piston, and the piston will just extend all the way up. That's the hope. It may not work, but that's the hope. Pop it in, and it triggers. Both of them went up. It does look ugly, but they went up higher. So it's not going to be like all the way up to the top. I'm not planning to do that much, but hopefully this will be enough to keep it from going sideways any when being processed. And what was working so well just, a few minutes ago is now struggling to work again. Oh, and that lag. Oh, there's something wrong here if it's lagging up like that. It's something that's not processing right. And as soon as it breaks, it starts working fine again. All right, so the piston approach there seems to be working as far as keeping it straight is not having any issues. In regards to that, I'm thinking at this point, I could pretty much just go and take everything from this point off and let that be its own little thing. And there we go. We've got a shorter, hopefully a lot less heavy design. And man, that almost makes me feel like, what if I did the same thing here? So it ended up being a much shorter design. I'll probably stick with no more than piston level 2, just for the fact I don't want to be too high in between each spot. And see, like now, it's like I don't sense it. I do sense it. It's just bouncing, which is fine. But there's also something to do with that one kind of went down a little bit. And there it goes. And now that one's collapsed back down perfectly. So it's now just a matter of, why are these not interacting the right way? Oh yeah. It might help if I keep the switch for controlling these, or at least controlling the engine, on the same device. I kind of disconnected everything and forgot about the switch for it. All right, so I went with glass for this part, and I'm actually going to try something now. I've got a sensor there to trigger the blades. Won't work on these smaller trees, but I'm hoping with the redwoods it might be able to manage doing all of the chopping on its own and shut itself off. Because think about it, if I drop a tree in there and wait and it'll just shut itself off, great. If that works, I'll add some more because I put this extra depth level to this backboard. I'll just put some more in there. I'll have like a logic gate to control them all. So make sure that as long as it's picking up at least one of them, it will trigger, and that way it'll just go. And that works kind of similar to the way the pistons are up top for everything. But there it is. Rebuilt or modified version 3, chopped down a little bit. There's some left over from that other tree that got stuck in the ground. And yeah, I think it's ready to go. How much better is the towing going to be now? Well, even with lower power, it seems to be working a bit better. I mean, it's still not great, still losing control, but it's working at least better. Found a better use for the tail at the end. Works fine for dragging trees around. All right, dropping in. Triggers for the moment. Yeah, at the least, I'll need a logic trigger for it. You know what? Let's just take that off for a moment. It shreds through the small trees. No problem. Like, it's not having any issue with interaction. But once you get to the bigger trees, it's like, oh, I'm not touching this. My problem is I keep forgetting to put that in place. Medium tree. And let's turn, yeah, lights on. There we go. So medium tree going in. Starts breaking it right away, and the sensor does not want to detect that. All right, going to this. No sensors. Works perfectly fine with a medium tree. It seems to be only the redwoods do not want to interact correctly on it. And the redwood sensor is disconnected, so this is now laggy. So all about just, oh, I come in, I turn it on, fine. And you see it's got the pistons extended. That's how tall the redwoods can be. Fortunately, we don't have to deal with the external branches as being real branches. Oh yeah, that is working beautifully, keeping it perfectly straight. And for some reason now it's working a lot better with interaction with the saw blades. So I'm not going to complain about that. I just wish it would work better the rest of the time. I've got a way to quickly process an entire tree now without having to do interim steps like I was doing before, where I was having to break stuff, you know, into smaller segments. And yeah, there we go. That much wood, 3 trees, and it was already processing the skinny one, the smallest one, the medium one while it's bringing stuff down, you know? So yeah, very quickly for this to fill up now instead of the delay it had before, and it's still sliding. I cannot find any place that is perfectly flat unless I build it. So there's version 3, Mark 3. Kind of interesting on how I did certain things, how I made it work, but it works. That's the important part. All right, so that's it for this episode of Scrap Mechanic. New version of the wood chipper processing truck. Actually, it's more wood chipper. It processes my metal and stone too, but you know, new processing truck design. Basically just Mark 2 cut down and reworked to become Mark 3, which is, you know, hey, sometimes all you gotta do. Shorter, less weight on it. I might add some more stuff on there, maybe some extra storage or something like that if I wanted to go for a really long run. I still need to tweak something with how it moves, but for now, you know, the range I'm needing it's perfectly fine, and it's a lot faster in terms of production of wood from chopped down trees. So I'm definitely happy with this improvement. But like I said, that's it. So if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think about the new variation on the design, and of course, hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Spicy. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to keep it spicy this week, and I'll see you in the next video.